When I think about the times that I have been like super angry at somebody, it like eats away at me to the point where I'm like, oh, this isn't worth it. When you harbor anger towards someone, when you are resentful or spiteful or petty, it affects you, honestly, maybe more than it affects the other person. Welcome back to another episode of BULGOGI Pod. We are live. It is July. It's freaking hot. And your girl got sunburned even more bad. I would show you guys, but I don't want to flash the camera and get demonetized. And so we won't be doing that. But if you would like to see the monetized version, no, I'm kidding. I'm seeing pores on my stomach that I've never seen in my life. I'm rubbing aloe on myself all the time, and I was so itchy last night I could not sleep. And so it's just been real fun. Happy summer. We are going to get into the art of letting go because I am happy. Everything is chill. Honestly, my life can be a little chaotic, I feel like sometimes, but right now, at this current moment, everything is really chill. And so what's been happening, I honestly think I've just like learned to let go. And I really think that this started because I used to be a little bundle of anxiety, right? Everyone's watching Inside Out. I haven't seen it yet, but it's okay. Nobody needs to know that. But I know it's about anxiety, and that's something that I have / used to have way worse. And so yeah, where did my anxiety come from? I honestly think that when I was younger, I just like needed everything to go my way. Like, I am kind of type A in my personality. I like a plan. And when things don't go as planned, your girl kind of freaks out. And so, right, it like was the small things when I was like in 4th grade and studying, and I felt like I didn't have enough time because, like, let's say my sister wanted to play or something came up, like my grandma wanted me to eat dinner and I hadn't like accounted for it. I think that's like when the anxiety started kicking in, and it really, really, really was exacerbated when I realized that like I have a procrastination issue. Now, you know how they say that procrastinators are actually smarter because like during that whole time that we're like thinking about things and not doing the actual project, we are thinking through all the possible solutions. Well, yes, that is true, I think, to an extent, but I also think that sometimes it is just a little bit unhealthy. And so when it came to procrastinating, I think that's like where I would just kind of like freak myself out a bit, you know what I mean? Like, I think for sure I would always get the project done and it would be all right quality, but like I'm sure it could have been better quality had I started earlier. And so, right, the anxiety started really, really, really kicking in like 4th grade. And if you can imagine, in this very tight-knit, very academic school system, your girl was stressed out. So imagine being stressed out. Imagine being on one, having a stick up your for how many years of my life? Literally the entire time I was in the American education system. Up until high school, I want to say. And so with so much anxiety building in you, I think that it had come to a point where like it wasn't manageable. And that's when I started to realize that I have to like let things go, right? Like I have to let go of control. I have to let go of like everything according to plan because time and time again, it was being proven to me that things don't always go as planned, right? Like, I remember my freshman year at USC. Also, it's like so freaking hot. Let me take this off. Rocking the gallery stills. Shout out Brian Law. But yeah, my time at USC, I remember, I think freshman and sophomore year, I was trying really, really hard to like get into these certain clubs and societies, and I even like rushed a sorority. I don't know if I've ever talked about that, But like I was really just trying to like find my footing, find my place within this like big school system where I didn't, I went in like knowing some people, but it's not like we were like good friends. And so it was just a lot of like trying out for a club and then getting rejected, trying out for another club the following week and getting rejected, or like actually finding a club that I liked, but like applications were not open for whatever reason. Like it was just a lot of like repetitive rejection. And honestly, I think that college was the first time that I was going through that because, to be quite honest, like when you're in such a closed, like controlled environment, right, from elementary school through high school, there wasn't like much variable for there to like be things that like I got rejected from. Like it was just kind of like, oh, I apply, I get in. And so when it came to like being at USC, I think it was like a shock to me that like, oh, maybe maybe I'm not as good as like the other people trying out for these things. And so it was just a lot of like identity crisis mixed with anxiety, mixed with like not having that many friends. And so after a while, I think I just had to realize that like that really wasn't my like destiny. Like all those clubs that I tried out for, like even the sorority stuff, like it didn't work out, and I had to just accept that it didn't happen for a reason and like let that go. Because I think that like there was a sense that like I could try out the next year and like really hold on to like hope that it would go differently the following year. And with some of those things, like right, the following year I tried out again and like once again didn't happen. It didn't happen. And so it really wasn't meant to be. And so I really had to practice like this art of like letting go. And so right, like when it comes to like having control in your life, I think that's one aspect in which you need to let things go. But I think maybe one that's like top of mind for me is letting things go within like personal relationships. With personal relationships, right? I think that this is sometimes the toughest to quote let go because so much is involved, right? Like when it comes to maybe friends that have wronged you, friends that have kind of like dipped out on you and like you thought that there was a sense of loyalty, like there's a lot that went into it, right? A lot of emotions that built up, a lot of history that builds. And so, right, for me, things always come back to her, my middle school best friend. I'm talking about this because I think this was honestly like one of the first examples of like me having to let a friendship go. And mind you, like we were butt buddies. Me and this girl, we were inseparable. Like I didn't have that many sleepovers growing up, but I slept over at her place so often, so much. Like I was just very used to just like her being my person. Like she was my go-to. Anything that happened in my life, like, oh, I'm gonna call her Carly. Like, where's Carly? Like, I have to tell Carly. I need Carly's advice. Like, I need Carly's help. I want to hang out with Carly. Like, we were inseparable. And there came a point where our friendship started to kind of break apart because I started to hear things about her and like how maybe her intentions weren't as pure as I had previously thought. And so we like went through this big friendship breakup, and it was kind of a big deal because after that, like I think I felt very lonely, and I also think she felt lonely as well. But like who would I have gone to when I felt lonely? It was always her. So the fact that she wasn't there for me like was really, really hard, right? And I harbored a lot of like anger towards her, right? And it was eating up at me because when you harbor anger towards someone, when you are resentful or spiteful or petty, it affects you, honestly, maybe more than it affects the other person. Because the other person doesn't necessarily know what you're feeling unless like you're communicating those things, right? And like that's a whole nother topic. But at the end of the day, like only you know exactly how you feel, and like you're the one who has to like live through those emotions. So when you like hold on to like anger and resentment, it like does nothing but like manifest in other ways. And so I think that letting go obviously takes time, and like it depends on the situation. Like I think that there are instances where you are justified in not letting things go. But for me, I believe in second chances and forgiveness and just like taking things a little bit lighter, because oftentimes people don't realize what they're doing and like how it's affecting you. And I also think that like when you are holding on to grudges and so angry, it manifests in different ways, because like I'll give you an example. If I'm feeling petty towards a friend, it is so much more detrimental to like hold it in rather than to just talk it out, because I personally think that I'm someone who needs to verbally process things, and as a verbal processor, I will, yes, maybe like ask my friends for advice if I need help on like how exactly to word things. Like me and my friends always do PR sessions. I don't know if you guys do that, but like literally I like me, Allie, Joyce, and like Diane. Like that's my PR team right there. If I am confronting you in any way, if I have to have some sort of serious conversation, or if there's just like anything on my mind that like requires kind of a more intentional conversation, then I'm going to my PR group, because they allow me to just like get my feelings across and communicate clearly, but also be a little bit calmer and maybe like not come off so attacky, right? Because first draft of things, very attacky. It's always like, you did this to me, I feel like this, I feel wronged in this way. But then after we come out of PR session, it's like, I feel this way because blank, and I would like this as a solution. Like this is how I would feel loved, right? It comes out very like tame and calm. And I think that it's good because it just kind of like also allows you to have like multiple perspectives in a situation where it's like formalized, written out on Notes app, that whole thing. So if y'all don't have a PR group who you are running serious conversations by, you should do that. Just form one with your friends. It's truly a blessing. Like, it's funny because we all need a little bit of PR, right? Like we all have things that we need to say and communicate, but sometimes we don't know how to say them. And so it helps when you have a group of people that you trust and love and you know have good intentions to like just like soundboard with, right? Like, this is the writer's room. Let's get a little skit writing on. And so I love a PR session when it comes to just figuring out how to communicate your needs and feelings, because I always think that that's better than like holding it all in. Like when I think about the times that I have been like super angry at somebody, super angry at an ex, or super angry at a friend, or super angry just like even at a coworker in my working situation, it like eats away at me to the point where I'm like, oh, this isn't worth it. Right? Like, I really think about, I like to weigh things in my head. And if it's not worth it for me to hold a grudge, right? People always say, you know, what's that saying? People always say, where the people are. That's not it. I don't know what that saying is about grudge holding, but it's always worse off for the person who's actually holding the grudge, because like, we're grown, we're past this, we're mature adults, and like we should be able to let things go. And so let's go through the steps of like letting things go. I really think it starts at acknowledging your own feelings, right? Because I think when you are denying yourself of feeling certain feelings, it'll always like come up in other ways, right? It's kind of like when you're putting a screen protector on your phone screen and there's a little bubble, like you'll like scrape the bubble out, but then another bubble will form somewhere else. Or like, you know, when you're tying your hair and you're trying to do a slick back and like there's one bump, and then you fix that one bump and then another bump forms, and then you keep going and it's like, oh, here's another bump, oh, I found another bump, oh, okay, let's tie my hair, oh, the hair tie snapped, okay, let's go back to square one. I'm tying the rubber band, I'm tying the hair tie around my hair, oh, now this part is bumpy. And so it's always just like problem solving. And I do believe that you have to like get those small bumps out of the way in order to prevent this like giant bump from forming, right? Something that my pastor always says is like, fix the small problems before they become big problems, right? Because nothing really ever starts out as like a huge deal unless it is, but like I think a lot of like our huge big problems are because like we hold things in. And so, right, when we hold on to that anger, it doesn't allow for even the other person to like kind of fix their behavior, right? I'm a believer in like cooling down and then communicating with that person. Now, is that really hard for me? Absolutely. It's really hard for me to communicate, guys. I know I like come off sometimes as like a great communicator, but I still find a lot of difficulty in it because I'm right here with you all. I am learning as we go because a lot of times it's my first time like doing the thing, right? Like when it came to like my first friendship fight, I had never dealt with like a friendship fallout, and I had to learn how to communicate rather than avoid things because honestly, I love avoiding things. And so it's my first rodeo. And so there has to be a little bit of grace there, right? You have to show yourself a little bit of grace because it's like, oh, I don't expect anyone who's doing something for the first time to get it perfect because this is your first time. Like, this is like a practice round, right? Like, every single time you do it, you'll get a little bit better at it. And so I hope that, like, when you guys start to recognize the fact that maybe you are holding on to a little bit of anger, that the next logical step would be to communicate about it. After the acceptance of your feelings really comes that big communication part. You guys know your friends. You guys know that sometimes they won't be well received, right? I think that we all have those friends where it's really scary to communicate because you know them well enough to the point where like maybe they'll get defensive. And when it comes to that, I think that sucks, right? The fact that like maybe you and this friend are really good friends and have built a solid relationship for however many years, but if you know that they're going to be defensive, obviously that makes it hard to communicate. And so when it comes to communicating with someone who is defensive, and honestly in general, even with people who aren't defensive, sandwich method. I think that people become defensive because they feel like they did something wrong or because they feel shame. And so get ahead of that by affirming them about your friendship or your relationship, right? You can say something as simple as, I love you and I really respect our relationship, but I do feel like you've been giving less effort, and so I would appreciate it if blank. Because I like love and respect our relationship so much, I kind of want to get ahead of it, right? You are doing multiple things there. You're starting out with the affirmation of you love this relationship, right? And like this is something that matters to you, which is why you're communicating about it. And then you say the actual thing that you're trying to communicate about, and then action item, and then I honestly would add on another sandwich of like, here are my intentions. My intentions are not to be malicious. My intentions are not to attack you in any way. My intentions are pure and good because I want this relationship to work, right? And I think after the acknowledgement and just like communication between the two of you, if they're not receptive to it, you know that you did all you can, right? I think that's one thing I kind of like live by is like, I want to make sure that I am doing my best, and I know that I'm doing my best because only you know if you are doing your best. And so when it comes to personal relationships, like, you can only try so many times because relationships take two people. If somebody is not necessarily reciprocating and you've tried many times, I think that is a time to reevaluate whether or not you actually like want this person in your life, right? Which I think is a really hard question because I think when it comes to people who are loyalists and people who aren't afraid of commitment, we have a tendency to commit like almost to a fault, right? Like, oh, me and my friend have been friends for 9 years, and so there is absolutely no way that our friendship is going to end. And so it's when you like just continue holding on and grabbing, even when they like, when it seems like they don't want to continue the friendship, that I think like a lot of like internal turmoil builds, because there is a disconnect, right? There is a disconnect between you and this person of maybe they have already let go and you haven't. And don't get me wrong, this is a very hard thing to do. This is not an overnight thing, because I think that letting go takes a lot of time of just acceptance and realizing, oh, maybe this relationship has had, like, maybe we've had a good run. And that's like all it's meant to be. And like, let's leave things off in the most cordial way possible, right? Because when it comes to personal relationships, I hope that that person was in your life for a reason, and that you're able to look back and just be really like grateful that you guys even had this beautiful relationship in the first place. Because some people don't get that. Some people don't have all the friends that we do. Some people will never have an opportunity to meet the people that we will. And so we need to be grateful for the people that like did give you those times of like laughter and joy. And even if your relationship hasn't progressed the way that you wanted to, like, let's like look on those memories with fondness, because they still shaped who you are today and inform who you are, your character. At the end of the day, I want you to feel good about how you carried yourself. And so when it comes to letting go, I think that that's something that you can kind of reflect on and be like, am I proud of the way I behaved in this situation, even if this other person wasn't as mature as I was? Like, do I like how I behaved? Because all we really have to live with at the end of the day is how we act and how we carry ourselves, how we speak, and how mature we are. Because, right, when we stoop down to other people's levels, like, that doesn't feel good for us in the long run. Now, sometimes I do like stooping down to people's levels, because I do think it is necessary sometimes. Okay, and what I mean by this is sometimes I just like wish I wasn't so nice, right? I have dated guys who things like kind of ended badly with, or things just like didn't end like in the most cordial way. And sometimes I'm like, I wish I chewed them out. I wish I punched them in the face. I'm not condoning violence. I'm not condoning chewing people out. But like, you know, when you look back and you're like, I feel like I was too nice in that situation, and I wish I gave that person a little taste of their medicine. I definitely feel that. And so I'm not nice all the time, but like sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, I wish I did that. But you know what? I would so much rather wish that I was meaner than wish that I was nicer in a situation. Right? Let me repeat that for y'all. I would much rather wish that I was meaner than wish that I was nicer in a situation. Because I don't think that I personally could live with the guilt of feeling like a bad person, right? I do think that like I am a nice girl. I am very sweetheart. And so I will almost always err on the side of caution, which is like being nice. Because living with the guilt of being mean to someone, I think kind of like eats away at me. And yeah, of course, like we all yap sometimes, we all gossip, we all talk a little bit of shit. And I think that is okay, like that's fine. But make sure that you're doing it as sporadically as possible, and hopefully not so mean to the point where like you will constantly think about it and like not be able to forgive yourself, right? Because only you have to live with the consequences of your own actions. And so make sure that you're living as a nice enough person that you can like live with yourself, right? I don't want to like walk around and be like, damn, I'm a mean girl. Like, honestly, when I talk a little bit too much shit, I'm like, damn, I'm kind of a mean girl today. And that isn't necessarily great. Oh my gosh. Also, guys, I'm realizing that my hair tie isn't in my hair anymore. I was just walking around with one side of my hair tied. That's kind of embarrassing. Also, I just found a bug in my hair. It's just a little fly, and that's a little gross. But I was walking around outside. What are you gonna do? And so, yeah, the art of letting go. Let things go so that you can live, having said that, like, you didn't hold on to grudges and whatnot, that you were a good person at the end of the day, and so that you can like walk around with a lighter heart, because I think that when you hold on to things, it affects every part of your life. Don't think that you're able to compartmentalize, because not everyone is able to. Like, sometimes I think that I can compartmentalize, and then when I'm pissed off about something, it makes me pissed off about everything. And so communicate as a way, as a form to let go. And so that's the message. That's the takeaway for today. And I will catch you guys in the next episode, which I'm going to record right now because I'm going on a trip and I want to make sure that there's an episode out for you guys. So catch you next week.